I felt like a total stranger watching the end of that race. It's just so nerve-wracking, to be so close to accomplishing the ultimate goal, which is to get 2 through, and so many things that can go the opposite way, cautions or who knows what else, and so to get so caught up in the 24s race, the 5s race, the 9s race, and I mean it's just a fantastic battle and race, and I mean the 12 Blaney, we've seen what he's done here the last couple of years, and they're so good here. So when they got the lead, I didn't lose faith, but I will say I thought it was going to really be challenging to get by him, and just could not be more proud of the job that William did. Obviously, qualifying played a role, that number 1 pit stall, and then the pit crew did their job. But just a great race car and great race car driver, and total team effort, and just absolutely an epic race, and can't think of a better way to go to Phoenix next week to battle for a championship in that way, as well as the solid job that the 5 did all day.
Bob Hockers, Fox Sports. Kyle is the only driver among the 4 who's won a title. Cliff is the only crew chief among the 4 who, as a crew chief, has won a Cup title. Does that matter?
I mean, it doesn't hurt, to know what. Now you got to remember though too. William has, and that 24 team has battled for. They've gone through the process of this week and what takes place championship week leading into Phoenix, and the pressures and the responsibilities that could be a distraction. So. To me, those are the biggest things. It's just being on the stage and the pressure of being on that stage, to win a championship, and then the distractions that can come along during the week. So, but having a championship under your belt in doing it at Phoenix the way the 5 car has done in the past. I mean, all that experience and knowledge is good to have in your back pocket, but it's going to be an epic battle. And I mean, you got 4 cars, 2 organizations that are going to give it everything, and it's going to be fascinating week in preparation and seeing how it unfolds at the racetrack in Phoenix. And a lot of this is just the things you've been building on during the year to try to make sure that you get if you're in this position, you capitalize on it by improving your cars at that track. And I feel like this is anybody's race.
What do you think it would say about the 5 team in Larson if they are able to win it? They've seemed to have so many highs and lows this year, especially Kyle with the month of May.
Yeah, I would say maybe more than month of May, right? It seemed to linger longer than that, but. I just think that you have, Kyle that is very unique in the way that he blocks things out. And I feel like, he's always had confidence, always been able to fall back on his talents and his race team and his race cars to get himself back there. And Cliff is an incredibly strong leader and a very positive thinker. So, I think that the combination of those two and the people that they surround themselves with really helped them fight through that. But I think when the playoffs started, their performance was there, and I think all through the playoffs, I think they've been building up to this point. So, yeah, I never count those guys out.
All right, Steph's gonna give you all the mic, and then you just share it down the row.
Okay.
Because everyone has a question, so I'm just not gonna get involved.
Just and a front row is a front row thing.
Guess so.
Better than that 2311 thing.
Jeff, your short track program has come a long way. It feels like, going into the playoffs, it was like, man, how are these guys going to beat the Penske cars? And even JGR seemed to have a leg up. But when you got through, like you look at Gateway, you look at Loudon, there was like steady gains. And then this weekend was really a resounding Hendrick, showed a lot of speed. How did that happen for you guys? And where do you see things turning around that you were able to get to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just got to prioritize, right? And maybe we gave up a little bit on our mile and a half stuff, not purposefully, but it's just you only have so much time in a day. And so when you start looking at prioritizing what it takes to win a championship, it's probably, if you're in this round, going to come down to what you do at Martinsville. And if you get through Martinsville, then it's going to come down to what you do at Phoenix. And so I think it's been a top priority for us. And really, you got to look at what Penske has done. They had raised the bar in such a big way of the way they've performed here and the way they have gone and won the championship in Phoenix, when you really all year long didn't necessarily think that they had what it took, but they had what it took at the right time, the right places. And so you have to adjust, with this format and with certain tracks that become that important. And so I know that it's been, I would say, go back 2 years, getting beat at Phoenix. We've got work to do here. Last year, we stepped it up, and it still wasn't enough. And this year, I think it became a much bigger priority, and the effort, and the folks that are at Hendrick that have the brain power to, put the effort into mechanical grip and aero and horsepower and all the things, tire modeling, they went to work. Obviously we give a lot of credit to our crew chiefs because they work, tirelessly on it. And then the engineer, they're head engineers. But Tom Gray, I think, is a guy that probably does not get enough credit. He's, he heads up our engineering group and development group, and he was my head engineer next to Alan Gustafson when I ended my career, and he's one of the best in the garage. And him being in this role, I think, has really elevated our game. And I give him a lot of credit also for orchestrating the improvements that we've had on the short tracks.
Jordan Bianchi, the Athletic, kind of following up on that there isn't a Penske car in the championship four. Does that make it feel like a wide open thing?
It does. I mean, you saw what they did today. We saw what they did at New Hampshire. You saw what they did today. I mean, where'd Blaney start? 30th? 31st. Honestly, I thought it was impossible to win this race from 31st, and yet he drove right up through the field. It didn't do it immediately, right? It took long runs, it took pit stops, it took some gambles on some strategy, but they put themselves in position. And I really didn't think that. First, I thought the 22, kind of had the magic there early on when he was making some gains. I was like, oh boy, 22 is going to go up there and take this thing and go battle for it again. But then you started really seeing there was one long run there, and you saw Blaney just and we were chatting among ourselves going, 12 just showed up, and once he got the lead, I thought, man, I don't know how we're going to get away from him. So they've carried that on into Phoenix, right, and have won championships last few years. So I think that it is wide open, and with our improvements, I that we've manned the shorter tracks, I feel like it gives us even more confidence next week.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Jeff, for an organization built on wins and championships, for the last championship to have been 2021, how long is that within the halls of Hendrick Motorsports?
Well, I mean, these days with this format, and maybe this changes next year, probably, but when you just make it to the Final Four, it's sort of like a championship. It comes down to, you ultimately one team and driver is holding up the trophy, but just making it into that Final Four is such a huge accomplishment that I think we've kind of been measuring our abilities and success on that and hanging it on that a little bit more than just ultimately what happens in one race at the end of the season, which is another reason why to change the format. So I think we probably haven't been counting the days and the years quite as much as maybe some others have, but to legitimate, in our minds we've also had two there, but it's usually been like with an owner and then with a driver. So this really is a huge accomplishment, and just to be there, to get this far in the season, have two going for the championship. But we want it bad. If we're in it and we've got a shot at it, we want to come away with it.
Also, Cliff has talked a couple different times the last few weeks. It's just he says at some point he wants to tell the full story of the 5 crew and what they have gone through off the track as much as on, and just the personal, some of the losses and some of the challenges the individuals in that team and others have faced. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of that and experienced a lot of that. Is how has that team stayed together? How has that maybe challenged Cliff in a way to be a different leader, and just how this group has overcome some of the personal things that life happens at times?
Yeah, I think, that's racing, that's life of when you think you've got all the ingredients and everything's just going exactly the way you want it to, usually something's going to remind you that life and racing is not perfect. And so, I'm a big believer that those things that come along to a team, whatever challenges they may be, is what makes you stronger, makes you better, and makes you grow, and get yourself into position to be stronger in days like today and in the battle next week for the championship. But they have been through a lot more than most seasons in a team when you look at personnel. So he's right. They've been through a lot, and a lot of times you just have to fight through it internally and make the proper adjustments and hope that you stay in the fight and stay strong. And they have. And I think it goes back to, again, Cliff's great leadership, but this is where I'm going to go a little deeper and say Chad Knaus and Jeff Andrews, and other folks, Rick Hendrick, of having the support and strength and guidance around Cliff to help him with some of those as well. Because crew chiefs tend to want to do everything and kind of control everything, and that's part of their job, but we're all still human at the end of the day, and you can't do it all. And so it takes that support.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Zach Sterniolo, NASCAR.com. Building off of that a little bit, looking at the way the adversity that Kyle and William both had to overcome throughout different moments of this season, in what ways does it feel different from your perspective to see both of them reach the championship for this year?
Yeah, and I didn't want to take anything away from what Dustin was asking about the 5 team, so I'm glad you asked, because in my opinion, the 24 has been through quite a bit, right? Maybe it's not as much personnel in some of those personal challenges as much as it has been performance, right? Where, you win the Daytona 500, you got high expectations, you win a couple other races, and then all of a sudden you have this summer slump where you just feel like you can't do anything right. What's happened? Is it? And you start doubting yourself as a driver, as a crew chief, as a pit crew member, a mechanic, engineer, whatever, all the way across the board, and you start searching. And I'm just proud of how they searched and found, and found themselves and got back on track the way that they have. But one thing I think that they have done is proven that they're championship caliber this year, not just by winning regular season championship, of what they've had to do that, as well as what they've had to overcome to get themselves in this position, in the pressures that were on them as well. So they're as complete of a race team as I've ever seen right now.
To that point, I think back to this race a couple of years ago when he was struggling to run top 20, and he grounded out and ended up making the championship for that year. But then you fast forward to what this year was, what tonight was, muscling up to pass Ryan there over in turns 1 and 2. How does that speak to how you've seen William grow and adapt as a driver? Yeah, no,
he's matured. He's never lacked in effort. He'll have to share with you what kinds of things he does every week prepping for races, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen. And he's just very, very narrowly focused on it. He cuts out distractions and minimizes them. Unlike we all have things in our life going on, but he's just laser beam right now, and I think that it shows in his effort, his prep, his relationship with his team and Rudy and everybody. And he had that fire today burning and was not going to hold him back. So, I don't even remember what your question was, but it's just those guys have had to there he is right here. They've had to prove to themselves and a lot of others what they're capable of and what they're made of, and all those tough things that they've been through, to me is only made them a even stronger team and allowed them to do what they did today.
John Newby Fan Buzz. So, Jeff, you actually kind of answered this when you were answering Zach, so I'll switch to Rudy for the answer on this part.
Great.
So, he was talking about, the way Williams grown. Obviously, this fall race has been brutal to him over the last couple of years. But listen to the radio, he was just completely calm, level-headed this entire race, just very fact-focused. I was curious, what have you seen that's kind of led to that change in his personality? Is that the maturity? Is that the winning more races? I mean, because past years, like we said, it's been awful on him.
Yeah, I think 2 years ago was a really tough race. Last year was a pretty good race with a weird ending with getting some damage there. Opposite run of the 12 is what was today. So, but himself this year has grown a ton of maturity. I think is the main thing. He's worried about himself and his race team and the close people in his inner circle, and then it doesn't seem like he cares about much else. So, and that's great. That's the way I try to live my life too, and not really worry about what any of y'all have to say or anybody else on some internet website or that crap. So, anytime you can ignore that stuff's going to help you.
Don't take that personal. Nobody take that personal.
All right. I think Mark had a question and Deb had a question as well.
Mark Carroll, PRN. Jeff, just wondering how you feel about the fact that this feels like a heavyweight fight, right? You got two Hendrick cars. Feels like one of these, Las Vegas, world heavyweight unification kind of title fights going into Phoenix. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, we have a tremendous amount of respect for one another. We've battled through some big events and championships, in the past, and it's Penske, Gibbs, and Hendrick that were in this round, and then you narrow it down to two, which it was going to be, and either one of them was going to be a heavyweight battle, right? So, but yeah, no, we're pretty excited to have 2-on-2 and in a heavyweight fight, as you mentioned, and I don't know, Rudy can attest to how confident he is going into that race, but I don't know, I feel like our chances are extremely good, and I'm right now I'm excited now that we've gotten through this, and this is an exciting day, and a lot of emotion of being able to pull off this accomplishment. But now what I love doing is watching these guys leave here and go to work on what it's going to take to go win it. They already started. I'm sure they've been prepping for weeks, hoping that this would happen. But now it's like that all the details that come along with what happens from now until next Sunday. That's what I love watching these guys do, because they do it so well. And I'm sure, the Gibbs folks, do a lot of the same things. It's why they're as successful as they are, and I think it's what makes us as good as we are.
And just for Rudy real quick, talk about he's ready for you guys to go to work. How much more of going through stuff with a fine-tooth comb is there? Is there a double check, triple check, quadruple check? What's different about prepping a car for a championship?
Yeah, the biggest thing is I think that the plan starts probably 2 to 3 months early. And that's the biggest. Those big races, the plan for the car and how it's built and how it's put together starts way earlier. So it doesn't always have to just fall in the last couple days. It started from when that car gets assembled and put together and gone through from everybody that works at Hendrick Motorsports. So and then we'll get to this week, get to tonight when I get home, and hopefully get there super early tomorrow with a bunch of vigor, which I have right now. I'm ready to get there and start working. Go through those final details of the setup, the plan for practice, all those things. Those are exciting things for a race team. We get to practice. We get 3 sets of tires, so we had a whole bunch of guys that are actually they're really raring to change stuff during that practice and make their car better. So, we're just excited to go do it.
If you don't mind, I think it's just kind of interesting because this just happened. We were just talking about this. I mean, I literally just, I think Dave would be fine if I won't share word for word, but Dave Alpern just sent me a text, how honored they are to go battle with us next week. And he just beat me to the punch, right? I would have done the same thing. And it just goes to show you, the respect that we have for one another. So we're honored as well, but I'm really proud to call him a friend and have, the relationship that we have with Gibbs and be able to go. And next week we're going to be fierce competitors. Off the track, we say we're teammates, but on the track, we're fierce competitors. And so I just thought that was interesting that just popped up.
Deb Williams with Auto Week. And Jeff, I'm actually kind of going to build on that a little bit. Decades ago, excuse me, you were just starting out with Hendrick when Rick was helping Joe Gibbs come into this sport and helping him build that team. Now, the two teams that Rick really kind of built are going for the championship. So what does that mean to you now? I mean, is like the proud father with the son, or is it like, yeah, we got to beat you because we've done this, or what is the emotion there?
Well, again, like I say, off the track, when it's not Sunday and the green flag is fallen, there's relationships there's friendships, that you help one another out. You're there for one another in good times and tough times. And Mr. Hendrick and Coach Gibbs have incredible relationship. They talk on a pretty regular basis. They don't talk racing. They don't talk, about what happened on Sunday. It's unless they're congratulating one another on something. But and it's something that was built over time because of the way it started. Rick is just an incredible type of person where he's done this in the automotive industry. He's done it in racing where, he loves helping people get their start and get them going. And he's proud. I don't know if he'd consider a brotherhood or a father figure or whatever, but he does it for so many people. He loves to see them succeed and excel, and he loves to be a small part of that in some way. And I know it makes him really proud that he's been a part of that with Joe Gibbs and that organization. Yeah.
All right, Michael.
Michael Massey, front stretch. Jeff, Byron had the race under control. Then the caution comes out for a Spire car getting into another Spire car. You guys have the Spire affiliation. Was there any thought of like, come on, guys, let's keep it clean here?
You mean the third time the 77 was in an incident? I was thinking it, yes.
Yeah.
More than three? I don't know. I lost count.
Oh.
I think, listen, I'm just far enough removed. Rudy, I can't imagine what he's going through, right, in the crew chiefs. But I know that, for those of us that have been in these meetings, we're all thinking, wow, that Monday morning meeting is going to be a tough one over there at Spire because there's a lot of contact, not just with their current drivers, but with their future drivers too. So, yeah, I'll end it at that.
Well, just what were the nerves for both of you guys? What were the nerves there on that final restart, given you guys have seen what can happen on a late restart here at Martinsville?
Well, I mean, listen, there was some contact, right, between Ryan and William. I think it was just really hard racing, and there was a gap there, and I'm proud as can be of William that he went for that gap, right? I think we talk about him maturing. It's not just him maturing; it's his aggressiveness too, his yearning for how bad he wants it, and I think that showed it right there. Is that he that was his opportunity there, and he went for it, and there was contact. So when there's contact, then that you've opened up the door for there to be contact, that you could receive, and so I think I was really curious to see how he and Ryan raced one another. I knew they were going to race one another hard, but I mean, to me, William, I believe, had the race of his career today. I know it wasn't a Daytona 500, but to me, the way he handled himself and the way he approached it and raced today was just unbelievable. And that last restart, I would put right in there with that. I mean, he nailed that restart. Not only did he get the jump, when in the restart area, but then he drove that thing deep down into one, went up wide, turned it, and drove off and cleared the 12. And we saw how strong the 12 was on the outside in some of those restarts. So I was anticipating the 12 giving them a heck of a battle, but I was also expecting him to give him the bumper. And William didn't give him the chance to do that.
All right, Dalton, go ahead.
Hey, Jeff. Dalton Hopkins with Front Stretch. What is more nerve-wracking, watching or you yourself leading this race?
Put me in that car all day long. Not today.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in there at all, right? But no, I know where you're going. It is so tough to have basically zero control over what happens and sit there, and you just want it so bad because you see these guys and the effort they put into it and how bad they want it, and you want it so bad for them and for the organization, for the people, and for Rick, and so you lose a lot more than you win. And I was talking to Rick a little bit earlier, and we're just still as many good things that have happened for Hendrick Motorsports over the years. To want something as bad as we wanted to transfer through today, you're still doubting whether it's possible or whether it could happen, and what's gonna disrupt that. And so, you're those kinds of nerves and looking at it from that perspective is far more nerve-wracking than being in the car.
All right, Jeff. Thank you so much for your time.
Rudy, it's all
we
you.
We really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Best of luck next week. All right, we're going to continue questions with Rudy Fugle. If you have a question for Rudy, go ahead, raise your hand. I'm going to work to get a mic to you, and I'm going to start with Zach Albert. Huh? Or, I don't know. Yeah, whoever needs it.
Zach Albert, NASCAR.com. Rudy, it'd be really easy for you guys to dwell on what happened at Vegas, how Talladega played out for you guys. How are you guys able to just block that up between you, the team, and William, just to focus on the task at hand and perform?
Yeah, I mean, at this time of year, it's easier because there's not many weeks left, and all you have to do is win to have a chance to go to Phoenix. So you have to refocus. If you sit there and worry about other things that have already happened, then nothing good's going to happen. So it was pretty easy to Monday afternoon to put Vegas to bed and move on and recognize it was a mistake, and we're not going to get him back, and then put ourselves in position to win Talladega, and then stuff happens and you move on. And so Martinsville's a great opportunity for us, and we proved we could do it today.
And there were some fans in the grandstands chanting your name. Felt like a movie. Have you had that before, or what was that experience?
Yeah, it was good. It's just cool to have that nickname and then be able to have the fans behind the whole team, and just to get the 24 team rolling like we have been, I think just gets a lot of people that used to cheer for that guy excited again. So if we can get that kind of momentum rolling behind us, there's nothing like that.
All right, Bob.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. We've seen other drivers and teams do it, but is there any challenge to coming off such an emotional high of this race to then try to win a title in 7 days later?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if we're not focused, on the right stuff fast enough, especially when you have to load early to Phoenix, a lot of work has to get done. Thankfully, like we talked about, there's a lot of the car build, all of that stuff to make your car as best you can, have the best parts and pieces on your car has been in the works. So our car is sitting there in great shape. I spent a lot of time with it at the end of this week. And we'll have 2.5 days of really good prep this week. So I told the guys last week that a Martinsville win would feel great because it's my kind of celebration, which is celebrate on victory lane, do the inspection part, get home, and then go back to work the next morning and start working on the next win. So I'm ready for it. I know our group is too. So they'll enjoy it. We deserve it. We have a shot to enjoy it, but there's still a lot on the line. We'll focus for.
All right, Zach in the back.
Zach Moore from Byron. Rudy, what are those emotions like when in this it comes down to a late race pit stop, and then really, if the 24, if they make a mistake, that could be the race. But then just to see the 24 pit crew, who's been one of the best pit crews all year, to put William out front, and then also knowing that you're going to go to Phoenix, it has to feel good that the pit crew is hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah, no, it's great. They've been doing great lately. They had a great day today, and just we talked about it in the pre-race meeting of wanting the ball at the end of the game. And that's whatever the situation is. We wanted the ball, and they wanted the ball, and they performed. So it's what you hope to have.
All right, Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just seeing a stat here from Daniel Cespedes on X. I want to give credit. It says William Byron just became the first Cup Series driver to start on the pole, sweep the stages, and win in a playoff race. This is obviously a big clutch moment as well, and to do that in any playoff race, as long as the playoffs have been around, what does it say about his mentality? And I know you've known him since he was coming up through the ranks. How have you seen him change mentally to be this strong and be able to do something like that?
Yeah, I think this is huge. This can be a stepping stone into, getting some more great, victories. So really, really excited about that. He's grown a lot. This will be the third time in a row we've been to there, and every one we've changed. It was a different feeling. The first one was like, oh my gosh, we can't let this go. I don't know if we're ever going to get back here. Last year was more calm. We kind of knew it was in front of us and went with it. And this year will be even more know what to expect and just go bring it. So hopefully that experience will bring us. Doesn't mean you're going to win the race. Have a better shot to win the race. It means that we're going to be more prepared. We should execute better. We should execute practice better. We should be better because of it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's changed 100%. I mean, he's got his own house now. He takes care of a lot of his own things that he never had to before, and but just his routine. That's what's changed in the past probably year and a half. Is his routine is what he likes to do, how he likes to do it, and you don't have to worry about him being prepared. He's able to do all those things with his group, his circle, to be prepared for the race weekend. So just really proud of him for that.
All right, Kelly, go ahead.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Rudy, I guess to build off of that, when you're talking there about experience and kind of what to expect, third time, maybe the charm going to Phoenix, but I'm curious of what the last 2 years from a racing perspective, a car perspective, I guess the biggest lessons going into that race, because that track obviously is so, finicky and sensitive that, what can you share about how prepared or what you've learned the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think every year has been different because it's like what you have going into that race, right? So 2 years ago, that was a different aero package. We had won the race prior, but we had struggled, as a GM group, really, especially at Hendrick, of trying to win any races with that package, that short track package. We went there and had to deal with that, and then the stress of just knowing that, and last year. Different package with a lot of struggles at those type of tracks. Still performed fairly well, but kind of just searching for a baseline. And then this year, since that 5-car gateway test, we've had a package that we could work with at all these races. Loudon is it's a different setup, but a lot of the same stuff, a lot of package. And we had a car really capable of racing with some of those Penske cars, and that's what you look for. So now we have that package. We'll fine tune that. We'll adapt our practice plan and all those things because of it. So I think it's a conceited effort, either a concerted effort, for all of GM, trying to get better at this type of track, knowing it's get ready for Phoenix. So really, really helpful, that they were able to work as a big group, Chevrolet all as one to get better.
I'm just curious if you think there's any momentum, like when you have a win like today at the the last race to get into the championship. You guys are the last one standings. Do you think there's any momentum of the team that wins this race going into Phoenix?
Yeah, I mean it never hurts to have a little wind at your sails. Everybody's going to be ready to go to work tomorrow. Everybody's going to be ready to drive home, take a shower and get to the shop and work. And there is nothing wrong with that. Does it mean that you're definitely going to win? No, but the effort level, the preparedness, all those things are definitely at our backs. Momentum, confidence is a lot for him. and a lot for the pit crew. So different levels, right? The car guys that build the cars, we need the confidence to do the setups and do the things, and we don't need to really perform in a moment, necessarily, either in practice. And then the driver and the pit crew got to have that confidence to go perform in those seconds and in that intense competition. And so that'll be big for them.
All right, we're now going to roll into our post-race press conference with our race winner, William Byron. William, congratulations. Thanks for spending some time with us. From your perspective, if you don't mind, before we go to questions, can you just share with us what it was like from your vantage point on those final laps, especially with that final caution coming out and then essentially the shootout at the end?
Yeah, it's probably the first time I've really thought about it too much, but it just, you're thinking about it's going to be a long run to the end, right? So you're just trying to manage your stuff, and when I got the lead, it's just, okay, how do I manage my tires and manage my stuff to get through the next lappers that I got to get through? And honestly, you're just kind of counting the laps. You're just trying to match that with what your effort level inside the car is. And then when the caution came out, it's like, okay, like I told myself before the day started, I'm like, I'm not gonna get anxious about pit calls or cautions or whatever. I'm just gonna do whatever it is that needs, that's I'm told to do. And so I was thinking about the possibilities of other guys, taking 2 tires or whatever it is. So I think that's in the back of your mind, just trying to execute pit road, not speed, have a good rolling time, all those things, get in the box, on the marks, all those things. So our guys had a great pit stop. I felt like pit road in general went really smooth that last time around, and then it kind of shifted to, okay, how do I get through this restart? How do I get a good launch? And then what is my balance going to be once I do get out, get clear? So all those things. So yeah, it just kind of tested everything in those last 40 laps, just all the different scenarios.
All right, we're going to go to questions. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll work to get a mic to you. We're going to start with Kelly and go to Jeff and then work our way around the room. Go ahead.
Kelly, credentialed.racer.com. 2 things, William. First off, I want to start with the contact with Ryan. Your view, your approach. He thought there was nothing foul about it. You both are racing for the win. So from how you drove into turn 1, what was your play there?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you guys want to see, right? We're going for it, and I feel like in that situation, I never wanted to make contact because I felt like I had a good position, like I was inside of them. But we also had the lap car, and I didn't really. I can't see where the lap car is in that instance, and so I just knew I wanted to commit to the corner and have position, and I hate that we made contact, but I think he was probably leaving just enough space as well, and I was going into the corner committed. So that's just kind of fighting for space. But it's hard racing. We both want to make the championship 4, and it's a race win. So it's no ill will, but it's just it's hard racing, and you racing for the win.
The last 2 weeks, the amount of points this team has seen slip away in the third stage after how well you've run during the race, I think it'd be understandable if you were, down in the dumps or worried or came in yesterday and stressing. But outwardly, you seem like you've been very calm, business, focused forward. Do you have us fooled, or do you think the last couple of years, having gone through this playoff run, being in the championship 4 before, has all that experience helped how you've handled this round, and then especially coming into this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just have good people around me and good perspective, and I found that perspective. I don't know exactly when, but I just found it, and I felt good coming here. Obviously I was nervous, like everyone's nervous. They want to win, and they want to do the best job they can. They don't want to let their team down. That's the biggest feeling. But I just came here with I knew I had prepared. I knew I'd done everything I needed to do this week. In some ways I had worked harder, in other ways I didn't work as hard or gave myself a rest, and I felt like I just was prepared. I was going to do everything I could do in the race car and see what the result was from that. So that was my mindset, and I think I'm just thankful to have good people around me and good team. And but definitely the last 2 weeks were very depressing because they were just there was no result, and almost when Talladega happened the way it did, I was almost numb to the result because I'm like, it just seems like it's just been happening this way. So you just kind of keep digging your heels in, and we just came here with a lot of determination, and our team could have gone one or two ways. We could have been like, okay, Vegas didn't go well, Talladega we had a shot to win, whatever happens at Martinsville, but we came here on offense, and I think that's what I'm super proud of. It was a very freeing position to be in, having to race to win, not like the last couple of years where you had to count points, and that freed me up inside the car as well. And I think our team just put everything out there this weekend. It was the ultimate test for our group, the ultimate one we've been through yet, and that was pretty cool to see.
Good.
You led a career high amount of laps, and you became the first playoff driver, according to this stat I'm seeing on X, to win from the pole, sweep both stages, and win the race in the whole playoff era.
Nice.
Do you consider this?
I knew that, by the way. I was like, man, a lot of guys don't win from the pole. I mean, just statistically, right? But keep going.
It's interesting. Yeah, I also saw a stat that you're the first driver at Martinsville, period, to win from the pole since 2013. So.
Love
Jimmy,
it.
yeah. Anyway, with all that being said, is this the best race of your career? Is this the best race you've ever driven in your life? Do you consider that?
I hope it's not the best, because I hope next week is good
too. So far.
But I feel like all the things I've learned and all the things that my team has learned, obviously, and we just put that all into a big effort this weekend. We're like, whatever happens, happens. And I do think that from start to finish, it's the best I've ever felt in the race car, and that's a damn good feeling. So I think just it's been a lot of work. I mean, it's been a lot of heartbreak this year, the 600 and just different races, and you just channel those things, you just learn from them. And if you can learn from them, they become positives. They become things you lean on in the moment. And, for some people, they become like scars and things you can't get past. But I feel like for me, I found a way to flip that script either this week or sometime during these playoffs, and it went the other way.
And then yesterday you were talking about your mentality driving yourself up here yesterday. So are you driving home after this, like by yourself, or you have a long drive ahead?
I see my mom over there, so maybe I'll get mom or dad to drive. But I don't know. I'm gonna probably take it easy for a couple days and get ready for Phoenix.
So what are you gonna? I guess if you have a drive home though, so what are you gonna be thinking about, reflecting on this on your way back tonight?
I think it's important to reflect. I think I'll think about, as I am, I'm very, I feel like very analytical, some people could say, and introspective. So I'm probably going to think about all the things that happened and all the moves, and I'm going to try to remember the good things. But a lot of times your mind doesn't really remember the good things because they're a little bit subconscious. So, it'll be hard to remember exactly how it played out, but I'll try to. And I think I will also try to move past and kind of get ready for Phoenix, honestly, and just manage my week and just manage every opportunity I have to get better, and just try to learn as much as I can.
All right, Mark, go ahead.
Mark Garrow, PRN, straight in front of you.
Yeah.
Hey, William, first off, congratulations. Personally, how does it feel to come up this big, kind of playing off what you've just been talking about? How does it feel to personally come up this big at such a clutch moment, right, and be big enough for the biggest moment?
It's awesome. I mean, I had a friend of mine that told me that this week. He said, like, no moment's ever been too big for you. And I didn't, as a competitor, you don't really realize that. Like, you only view it in your eyes as every opportunity, and you only kind of look at it as missed opportunities or things you could get better at. But, just kind of, I feel like this week and this weekend, it's just trying to maximize the chance you have in front of you, because you never know when the next one's going to come. Even though you think you're going to be there all these times, you never know. So you just want to give everything you can to it. I felt good coming in here that I had given everything, and then, once you get in between the lines, in between the walls, it's you're gonna give everything. So you just gotta go out there and do your thing.
All right, Bob.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. Is this track, wins for you at this track as big as Daytona, just because of your history?
I mean, that's a good question. I think they're two totally different techniques, right? Everyone would say this place is a lot in your control. It's finesse. It's managing tires. Everyone would say Daytona is aggression. It's making split-second decisions. They're totally different racetracks. So it makes me feel good that I have diversity in my skill set, that I can go to Daytona and anticipate and make good decisions, in a split second, and then I can come here and finesse and manage tires and things. But they're two totally different, but yeah, they are two huge places, I think.
And I guess just from an emotional side, you had your big win here in 2022, then you won the 40th anniversary kind of race in 2024, and now this.
Yeah, I think this is probably the toughest place to get a hold of, and still is. So yeah, I think it's kind of an evolution, but they are big wins for sure. The 40th anniversary win was big, but the win coming here the year after my mom's deal and just winning and having them here was a huge deal. That was number one. I think it still is number one. We talked about that this week. So, this is a close second. But, this place has meant a lot to me and my family, and just my dad and I coming here years ago and just watching race cars go around. I feel like that, what I saw from an outsider, and that I feel like I still hold on to that, and kind of fuels me.
All right. We'll go to Davey. There in the middle. Thank you.
Davey Siegel with Sirius XM. William, I know that you follow other sports really closely. You're friends with a lot of other athletes. As an athlete yourself in a big moment like this, from the outside and watching some of your in-car that we saw on the broadcast, it looked like from afar that you were kind of in the zone at some points today.
Really?
Did it feel like that?
Yeah, I feel like I have I don't know. I feel like I get into kind of a zone probably in there. I mean, I notice like some guys stare. I don't really stare. I just look like I'm kind of like falling asleep in there. So it's kind of weird. But I feel like I just kind of get into a zone probably, and just that cadence and rhythm, I guess. And as an athlete, you always want to find that. But I think the biggest key is kind of when things don't go your way, how you adapt to the circumstances around you and stay in that state. Yeah.
In terms of looking ahead to next week, a big talking point for a lot of people here and also in the garage in general was Penske and the fact that they're not going to be eligible to win a championship next week. I know that you're probably going through a lot of emotions and thoughts in your head right now. You haven't processed everything, but the fact that you're not going to have to go up against a Penske car when they've been so good and so dominant in that race, how does that sit with you now?
I don't know. I mean, everyone's really good in this series, but I think you saw an awesome battle between us and the 12. And I told Jeff earlier in the weekend, I said that, if you don't win here, it doesn't matter for next week, right? So I feel like the challenge was tonight for us, and there will be another big challenge next week. So it's not like we're thinking, we got off easy, because they're not in it. It's nothing like that. I mean, Denny, Chase, and Kyle are amazing competitors, and we're going to have to do everything we can do next week to win that one too.
All right, we'll come up for our final question with Jeff.
On Media Day, we were talking about how you guys were kind of far off on the flatter, shorter tracks.
Yeah.
And then you were like, well, Gateway and Loudon actually kind of give us a chance to get better, and those might be good tests for a Martinsville.
Yeah.
Did you really believe that at the time, or was that false optimism, or did you actually think, okay, we have a chance to get as good as you guys turned out to be today?
Yeah, I did. Those things are real. The notes are real, and I felt better, I think, than my crew chief did after Loudon. Like, when I got out of the car and we finished third, I was like, man, that was awesome. And he was like, oh, we didn't win. But I knew it was a step. Like, I knew the car felt good. I could drive it hard. I had what I needed in the car. The 12 was just a little bit better, and the 21, they were really good. But so I knew that was a good step, and I was hoping that applied to this weekend. But I was cautiously optimistic, and then when we unloaded the car on Saturday, I was like, okay, we're getting closer, and we have something we can fight with, and it's just a matter of how much. And I think, honestly, us and the 12, like I said, were super evenly matched. It was just it was a battle.